Okay, so it should be, I believe, 12.
Because I have to number these too?
Yes, you do.
11, 12.
Yep. Because it indicates the new paragraph. We have that space to show that there's a break. And that's a really nice spot too after each paragraph or after a confusing part, like checking in and being like, did I understand what I just read? Because if not, maybe I need to go back and clarify. So after reading that first chunk, that's what I was doing. I kind of checked it in my head and was like, whoa, wait a second, I forgot some steps. I want to break this up. And now I'm going to go ahead and keep reading now that I've done that. As I read, I want to give you guys a specific purpose. I want you to circle any words you don't know. So vocabulary. So Alicia, what are you annotating for this first read?
Wait, you want me to read it?
I am going to read it, but what specific purpose do I want you to annotate for on the first read? Because remember, close reading is repeated readings, each time with a different purpose.
Well, it's just talking about, it just keeps repeating about work.
Okay, and Ovell, what do I want you to annotate for? It was, okay, this is why I'm checking in with you guys. From your notes, the second one said circle words and phrases that are confusing or unclear.
Oh, for PD, I didn't forget what annotating is.
And there are other words for annotating too. Marking the text, the same as annotating, talking to the text, because whenever you're annotating, it's kind of like the conversation going on in your head. You make it visible by writing it down in the text, so it can be talking to the text, annotating the text, marking the text. So these are all different words that mean the same thing. They're just a different word.
So I'm gonna annotate for words that are unclear or I don't understand.
Perfect, thank you. Yes. So this first time, remember looking at the close reading pyramid, and I know it's not up here right now. That first level was literal understanding, basic understanding. I just want to get the key ideas, and I want to get a general understanding.
I always heard like the main idea is in the first paragraph, and I think it's this one, isn't it? People in Japan, however, have a long tendency to keep working.
Wonderful.
And that would work, main idea.
Perfect, that would be great. So I would definitely highlight that, because a highlighter will be good too. And as Ovell mentioned, if you want to break this down to different colors, you could. So maybe yellow would be the key details and main ideas. Ovell identified the main idea and talked about how a lot of times the main idea will be presented at the very beginning. So this very last sentence. Ovell, can you read this sentence again? Listen to Ovell.
People in Japan, however, have a long tendency to keep on working.
Excellent.
Pretty much the last sentence.
Perfect. The last sentence.
All the way to the government wants to change it.
Perfect. So that gives us kind of the main idea of what this article is about. Good job, Ovell. All right, so go ahead and continue reading. So Japanese officials already have some legislation in place. So maybe if you didn't know what the word legislation meant, do we all know what legislation means? I guess.
They have rules.
Rules. Good. And if we kept reading the text, let's see if we could figure it out using context clues. So I am going to write that down though, since I got the answer from a friend. Rules. Technically student, but if you were working with a partner. So Japanese officials already have some legislation in place regarding time off for the country's citizens. Employers are mandated to offer 10 days of paid leave to people who have worked for 6 consecutive months. So another word for consecutive is like in a row. So if you have worked for 6 months in a row, gradually increasing to 20 days of paid time off for employees who have been with the company for more than 6 years. According to the law, workers may carry over their time off from one calendar year to the next. This means that an employee who only uses 5 out of 10 days off during 1 year of employment can take 15 days off the next year. So I'm making a connection to this, thinking about how many days off. Me too. I also get 10 days off. But to tell you the truth, how many days do I use? I use all 10. And in my head, I'm not going to write this all out, but I would if I was taking the time. And if I showed you the article that I annotated already, you would see all those annotations. When I say me too, 10 days off, my question that was kind of driving my reading I wanted to answer was, what is working too hard? So I'm making that connection of, okay, I also get 10 days off, but I use all 10 of my days. When I was in Indiana, I used 0 of the days, only if I was absolutely sick. But down here, I've had to travel for weddings, and I had to take all the days off. And to tell you the truth, I don't feel like 10 days is really that much. But these employees don't take almost any time off. Like, they take maybe half, and that's it. So moving on, it says, but being offered time off and actually taking it are 2 different things. So Erico, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this word, so I'm just going to try and sound it out using what I know of phonics. So Saguchi, breaking it down, Saguchi, I think. Since it's not important to the overall meaning of the text, it doesn't really matter that much, so I'm just going to skip it and just say the first letter. So Erico S., age 36, took only 8 of her 20 paid vacation days in 2014. And Saguchi is not alone. On average, Japanese workers take 9 days off a year, barely half the personal days allotted to them. Again, remember that you're circling words or phrases if you do not know the definition, or any confusion if you get confused. Paragraph 5, why don't more Japanese workers take the time off to which they are entitled? Part of the reason may be that some workers are apprehensive about the reaction of their companies and their co-workers.
What does apprehensive mean?
Good. So if you don't know what a word means, you might want to stop and try and figure it out.
That means like to understand something, right?
Well, let's see. So some different strategies we can use. What can we do? We don't know what apprehensive means. What should we do to figure it out? What are some steps?
I'll reread the sentences and then see like how it makes sense and like what it means.
Excellent. So we can use context clues. So let's read this sentence and see if maybe there's any clues to what it might mean. So apprehensive. So part of the reason may be that some workers are apprehensive about the reaction of their companies and their co-workers, as it has become the norm not to take vacation days. So let's think about that. If it's normal to not take any time off of work, how could that maybe give us an idea of what apprehensive might mean?
It means
They
like
feel neutral.
They feel what?
Neutral. Like,
Neutral?
They're not caring.
Okay.
Since they're used to that.
So I would say neutral is getting closer, but it's not necessarily the definition. Alicia, do you have an idea?
it means like the sentence says that they were apprehensive about what did the sentence say? The sentence said that they were apprehensive about
Taking time off.
they were like denying it, like they didn't want to.
Okay, they didn't want to. So we're getting an idea, but let's go ahead and keep reading. We read the sentence it was in. You can also read the sentence before and the sentence after. So the sentence after says, some may be concerned that taking time off will place a burden on co-workers. Okay, so does that help us figure it out anymore? They may not want to take time off because it's not really the normal thing to do. And then not only is it kind of not the normal thing to do, which makes them apprehensive, they might get concerned about taking time off. So if I'm looking at that sentence, to me, those kind of seem similar.
Where's apprehension concerned?
Good, yes, so maybe.
Yeah, that does make sense. Workers are concerned about the reaction of their. So I feel that word.
Exactly, perfect. So yeah, if you look at those 2 sentences, they're very similar. And so concerned and apprehensive probably means pretty similar
Can
things.
I put an arrow through here? Like that word?
Yeah, that would be great. Say, remember that annotations, like he said in the video, make them your own. Do what works for you. It doesn't have to follow like a set way.
Okay.
Okay, so like for me, I have like a code that I use in my head that I started in college once I started annotating. I never really learned how before that, and never really needed it because it wasn't hard until college. But I came up with this own system in my head. So like I know if I see a circle, it means I don't know what it means. I know if it's underlined, I know it's important. If I put a question mark, it means I was confused. And then I'll write the question of, what does this mean? Or, well, why would he do that? I don't. So the question beside my confusion. So you can come up with your own system. The annotation notes were just some guidelines. So, all right, good job using those context clues to figure out the meaning of apprehensive. So now that we went ahead and fixed up that confusion, we're going to go ahead and continue reading. So, starting with some may be concerned. Some may be concerned that taking time off will place a burden on coworkers, which may alienate them. And some may worry that taking time off will cast doubt on the employee's allegiance to the company. Another factor may be that Japanese workers must use their vacation time for sick days, which means workers often save 2 or 3 vacation days for fear of catching a cold or some other minor illness that results in them having to stay home. Said you, again, I'm just going to sound out the words. I'm not entirely sure the correct pronunciation, but if I break the word down, it looks like wake and be, so I'm just going to say wake-a-bee. So you, wake-a-bee, the Health and Labor Ministry official overseeing such standards. And I didn't understand what I just read right there, since I had to stop and clarify how to pronounce that word. So I'm going to go back and reread that sentence one more time. So again, another factor may be that Japanese workers must use their vacation time for sick days, which means workers often save 2 or 3 vacation days for fear of catching a cold or some other minor illness that results in them having to stay home, said you, wake-a-bee, the Health and Labor Ministry official overseeing such standards. Okay, so that was just him. So now I'm kind of summarizing on the side. All right, that was our third thing that we said we could annotate for. Or paraphrasing, I'm putting it into my own words. So in my head I'm going, okay, so pretty much just what he's saying is workers don't take time off so they can save days. And I know I do the same thing. Again, I'm making a connection. Me too. Even if I have 10 sick days, I always try to save at least 2 or 3 in case I get all of a sudden actually sick and can't literally get out of bed and make it to school. I'll at least have some days to fall back on. So I do the same thing.
Wait, so you for real only get like 10 days off? Like,
I'm being for real, yes.
like you can't get no time off after?
No.
So you have to go to school.
Yes. I'm sure
Obligation to come.
to tell you the truth, I mean, if there was like an emergency, I'm sure I could take off and it would just be unpaid leave. Like I just wouldn't get paid. So I
Oh
would
wait,
get
so the
off.
10 days are paid leave?
Yes.
And then the rest that you miss is just as you, like you don't get paid no more?
I wouldn't get paid for those days I missed. But also, I mean, again, I'm modeling that making connections reading strategy. I'm kind of activating my own knowledge as I'm reading the text to get a better understanding. And I'm being for real with you guys. And so with the 10 days, talking about that, I would never go over the 10 days. Like I wouldn't.
I'm trying to get 20 days, that's crazy.
Unless, like I said, I just literally like it was completely unavoidable, but I would just think that's a little unprofessional.
Miss Jenna.
There's no need for me to take more days.
What that says is workers don't take any days off.
I said that they don't like to. So I just put in my own words and made it short, since it was just an annotation, and I could make it longer if I wanted. But again, the annotations are your own, so as long as you can understand your margin notes, that's all that matters. And so my margin note is just a reminder to me, kind of saying, oh, I do the same thing. I don't like to take all my days off because I want to save them, just in case I actually do get sick. So that's one reason why Japanese workers don't take time off, for fear that they might actually get sick. So maybe that could be a piece of evidence. I'm kind of giving you a hint of what's to come. You might want to mark that. So moving on with chunk number 7. It says Wakeby himself took only 5 days of respite. So there's one of our vocab words right there, respite, meaning rest. So Wakeby himself took only 5 days of respite from work in 2014, one of them for staying home with a cold. He did manage to take a vacation to Hawaii with his family, however. Oh, how wonderful. He got to spend at least some time with his family. That's good. Japanese workers also tend to work long days. about 22% of Japanese workers put in more than 49 hours a week, compared with 16% of Americans.